All right. Good afternoon, everybody. We'll just give it one more moment. I know some people are trickling in. Just one moment, and excuse the tardy start. We had some technical difficulties that we were working through. But I'll go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Yahusef Medina, and I am leading the HBCU Fellowship initiative effort. And beside me, I have Matthew Gibson, the Executive Director of Virginia Humanities, and Lisa Woolfork, who's also here at University of Virginia. She was a former fellow at Virginia Humanities and is currently at the Center for Liberal Arts. And excuse me, what is your full title, Lisa?
I'm an associate professor of English and co-director of the Center for Liberal Arts.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. So Matthew, why don't you give us an intro to Virginia Humanities and let the attendees know what this organization is about and how the fellowship came about.
You bet, Yahusef. Thanks again, Yahusef Medina, for running this exciting program. We're really excited to be launching it, and it's great to see Dr. Lisa Woolfork here as well, who absolutely was a fellow here way back. We were just talking way back in the day, wasn't too far away, but when we were VFH. So we've changed our name a little bit in about 5 years ago, but welcome everyone. I'm glad you're here to learn more about this opportunity and hopefully to pass it on to your friends and colleagues as well. So Virginia Humanities still is the Virginia Foundation for the Humanities. You may have heard of us that way, or even our longer title, Virginia Foundation for the Humanities and Public Policy. So you can see why we shortened it to Virginia Humanities, because if we try to tweet that would be an entire tweet. So the idea is we are the state's Humanities Council. And what that means is we're not a state agency. We have a distinct affiliation with the University of Virginia as sort of our host, if you will. But we are the Humanities Council. We're a fully independent nonprofit while also being connected to the University of Virginia. That nonprofit entity, what it's been doing since 1974, when we were founded by Congress and the National Endowment for the Humanities, is really providing a mechanism that we can support the public humanities, that grassroots kind of humanities effort. Whereas we think about, a lot of the work that's happening, for instance, what Lisa does, that's academic humanities, right? But not to say that the academic humanities does not have a public audience. And in some ways, that's what Virginia Humanities tries to do, is create that bridge between the academy and the general public, understanding that bridge is a two-way street. There's a lot of information, a lot of scholarship coming out of the public that can benefit the academy and vice versa. So we're both an amplifier of different academic voices, both academic within higher ed and academic within, or scholarly within, public communities in the public square. We like to say that Virginia Humanities, that we connect people and ideas to explore the human experience. Another way to think about that is, we use the written and spoken word to build strong community across the Commonwealth. So we do that through a number of different programs. We certainly give grants. That's to organizations. Grants also sometimes take the form of fellowships, as Lisa was really, we were fortunate to have her as a fellow here. Those are paid. Obviously, we've recently upgraded our grants cycles so that we can actually provide at a cap $20,000 to organizations across the Commonwealth. And one of the things we're looking at with our fellowships too is to make sure that we are providing what we can think of as more of a living wage for our fellowship program. So it's still not, you hear that and you're like, oh yes, but it's still $15,000 a semester that we're trying to be able to give to folks. That's different with this program for the HBCU program, which I'll let Yahusef talk a little bit more about that in the details of what that actually looks like. But so we give funds to empower and support communities and individuals across the Commonwealth. We also have our own programs. We have the Virginia Festival of the Book, the Virginia Center for the Book. We have Encyclopedia Virginia. We have With Good Reason radio program, other radio podcasts. We also have the Virginia Folk Life program and many more. And all these kinds of different programs become those amplification platforms, radio, encyclopedia, for all the different kinds of scholarship that's happening both within and without the walls of higher education. So I'm really proud today to be able to be with Yosef and Lisa to launch this HBCU non-residential fellowship program. So I'll describe a little bit more about why we've gone this route, especially the non-residential route. Before, we had this, and we still have residential fellowships. Well, not really quite right now. COVID has thrown a curveball for those. We've not really had residential fellowships, but we will continue to have those in the future, at least hopefully. But the idea that, part of that stipend to be a fellow, to have that room of your own, if you will, to do the sort of research that you need to write your monograph or to write your article or just to do your research, that's what we try to really be able to support with this fellowship program. But the idea that sort of part of that stipend was actually, especially if you weren't in the Charlottesville area and you actually had to reside here for that residential fellowship program, you had to use that stipend to be able to live here. As folks know, Charlottesville is not a cheap place to live. And so what we want to try to do is really broaden access to these fellowship funds and the fellowship sort of opportunity by creating a non-residential fellowship program. And to be honest, in the past, we've not had many professors, scholars, affiliate professors from Virginia's HBCUs, primarily because it's hard to get that sabbatical. It's harder to get that sabbatical as really a focus on teaching colleges makes that sort of situation, creates that kind of situation. So we want to give this as an opportunity where, folks can both teach, hopefully at a reduced capacity, but also get a stipend to be able to do the research that you need to do to advance in your career or in your own research and opportunities. So that's sort of where this came about. And we've partnered with the Dominion Energy Foundation to give us $500,000 for the next 18 months to really make this program, this opportunity as robust as it can be. And we're really hoping that many of you can take advantage of this opportunity. And we're here today to help answer questions that you may have. But I'm excited to really, kick this off. And again, so thrilled that Yosef is here to lead us in this. And again, of course, Lisa as well, my colleague. So take care. Take care.
Thank you, Matthew. Much appreciated for that introduction and background on our organization here. And Dr. Lisa Woolfolk, would you mind sharing with the folks here your experience as a fellow at Virginia Humanities and maybe what they can expect or perhaps what you were able to accomplish in your time as well?
I want to thank you again for the opportunity to invite me to talk about my time at Virginia Humanities. And my experience was a bit different because it was residential. I was living in Charlottesville. I'm at UVA. And so I was really lucky that I was able to get a space at the offices. Like that was a really big deal to me. However, that is not where we are now. And so for me, when I look back on my time at Virginia Humanities, it's not just the fact that I was able to be in community in the same space with such wonderful people. It was also the fact that we all shared a commitment to the pursuit and the creation of knowledge. It was kind of like, you imagine like a honeycomb. And they have all the little compartments. It's like everybody is in their own little compartment doing their own little thing. And yet there's so much energy around that I just loved. It really just reminded me of like when I was young, and one of the things that got me excited about being a professor, about being someone whose jobs could be to study literature or to teach history, or to research in the arts, for example. And it's that same energy of quiet, of support, of shared resolve. I recall vividly one of the persons who was also there during my time, we had offices like right across from each other, was at William and Mary, and now he is here. And he's the new director of the Carter G. Woodson Center for African American and African Studies. And so this idea that I knew him like back in the day when we were like sharing, like the same kind of building space and had like a good relation, during that time, and to see that the way that we've both been able to kind of to like flourish and to have I think that academic work really requires time and quiet. And both of those things are hard to come by when you are teaching. And when you are trying to, do it alongside the other obligations you have for advising students, that's something that I do a lot of, and both formally and informally. So what a fellowship gives you is a type of respite, as well as an invitation to reconnect with why we do this in the first place. And that is one of the things I really appreciated about Virginia Humanities. And that is what I'm really excited to hear, that we have this huge investment. Well, not huge by Dominion standard, they print their own money over there, but $500,000 is nothing to sneeze at. And that is a nice chunk of money to divide among people, to give them the space to, to reconnect with those parts of the academic life that are really important, because we want our academic and scholarly fields to survive. We want to create legacies of scholarship. We want to have archives with stuff in them, and so part of the ways that happens is when scholars write and produce things to put in these journals. And I don't think there's enough funds available, that enough funding opportunities available for that to happen. And so this is, I think, a really exciting time, and I'm really glad that Virginia Humanities is doing this. I'm glad that Yahusef is leading, and so I think this is a wonderful opportunity, and I'm really excited to learn more about how the program is going to work, what the details would be. But I can tell you, having the time and space and resources to think is a very difficult thing to come by naturally. It can be a difficult thing to make for oneself. And sometimes it feels like it takes like an act of Congress for some of us to sit down and take a break, to take a pause, because so much of the other work is so consuming, especially if you are good at it, and especially if you care. And this gives the opportunity to put some of that, the thing that you are good at, the thing you care about, turn all those energies towards yourself and towards your own scholarly work and towards your own intellectual thought production. That, I think, is one of the vital things that the fellowship can provide space for.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dr. Woolfolk. And if you don't mind, would you mind telling attendees what you worked on while you were here, or what you were able to accomplish?
Okay, so I was there for a semester, and it was one of the leaves between my, I think it might have been just before tenure, or maybe just after tenure. I'm having trouble remembering. I've been here 21 years, so it's really hard to keep everything in track. But I recall that I was very interested in, the proposal I put up was for the people of Walmart. This was at the time a very popular website. A lot of this was before Twitter, it was before TikTok, it was before the short form social media. And what I was interested in understanding was what was at work in this digital space that involved people. Essentially, all you did on the website was take pictures of people at Walmart and post them to this website. And it felt to me like a powerful mix of ugly laws, which were, these laws that were very prominent in the early 20th century, that were anti-vagrancy, but also racist and ableist. And so I was trying to understand what was animating this type of contempt for poor people who also happen to be at Walmart, right? And so if the only way you can get a picture of someone at a Walmart is if you two are at the Walmart, right? And so I was talking about the camera as a type of boundary, that this person, that it almost reminded me of the way that some people say that there's some evangelical Christian sects who have this belief that they are in the world, but not of the world. And so my approach was to see that these folks with the cameras were using the camera or their phones that had cameras on them to say that they might be in Walmart, but not of Walmart. So it was a way to say that, hey, look at these raggedy, poor, bedraggled, or, usually it was someone who was, who's just basically a lot of body shaming, a lot of body shaming, a lot. Either what people were wearing, what people were not wearing, a lot of it to think about, to turn Walmart somehow into a carnival of poverty that people could all enjoy from the distance of their, computer screen or their phone. And all of this felt to me like a huge, just such a very complicated, as well as rather sinister, ultimately, enterprise. Because Walmart, as we know, is a huge global conglomerate that controls so much of what the world eats, how it dresses, what the people weigh, like all of these things. Whenever like a Walmart moves into a particular country or town or whatever, the way that it sucks out resources from different communities, the way that it doesn't pay a lot of employees living wages. So all of these things that we could be talking about with Walmart, and we're not, because we're too busy making fun of people who shop there. And so that was something that was the purpose of the article. And one of the things I loved about the fellowship was that we got to present our ideas in a public talk. And that is another really generous thing to have, because that kind of feedback at the early stages of a research project, or even as you are just working through it and you think you know what you're talking about, you think you know what you want to do, and then you get feedback and you're like, oh, wait, yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about it that way. Or I had not read that source, but I'm really glad that you mentioned that to me. So now I can incorporate that, because that was the thing that I was missing. So fellowship programs in like this one really do provide, a collection, because everybody's in the same boat. Like everybody's in their little honeycomb, little cell doing their work. And then you come out and, come up for fresh air, and there's all these people you can talk to about your idea that you have been struggling with alone. So that was the project that I worked on while I was there.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dr. Woolfolk. Appreciate your candor and just, sharing everything and your experience. Sound like a very interesting project. So I'm seeing a couple questions coming through the Q&A box. Thank you for submitting them through the Q&A chat. I'll be answering questions at the conclusion of the presentation. So if you just hold on that, I'll get to that point about the residential versus non-residential fellowships. But what I want to do right now is I want to share my screen and just briefly walk you all through the application process. And we'll start here. Is everyone able to see my screen? Okay, you can see it. So everyone should be familiar at this point, if you've registered for this webinar at the Virginia Humanities website. You click on fellowships, and then below you will go to the Virginia HBCU Fellowship option. You scroll down, you'll see the Apply Now button. It's going to take you to our Foundant system. And once you log in here, you'll have to create a new account. You'll log in. It'll bring you to this application page. And you still with me, Matthew? You still able to see the screen? Okay, great. Just making sure. So once you come upon this is the actual application. There's very clear instructions here. It's essentially 3 parts. The first part, we just want to verify your background and make sure that you are indeed eligible for the fellowship. And really the only clause of eligibility is proof of affiliation with a Virginia HBCU. And I want to be clear about that too, because I know a lot of people may make the assumption that you have to be currently a faculty member at a Virginia HBCU, but that is somewhat of a misnomer, because this opportunity is available to current doctoral students, preferably those that are all but dissertation at a Virginia HBCU, current faculty at a HBCU, whether tenured or non-tenured, and also alumni of Virginia HBCUs. So if you've attended an HBCU, a Virginia HBCU, for either undergrad or graduate school, and you're now elsewhere in your career, and you have your, credentials and what have you, you're still eligible for this opportunity. You don't necessarily have to be currently at a Virginia HBCU. So I just wanted to make that distinction. And, in addition to proof of affiliation, we're just looking for institutional support and release, because, this will, the expectation is that you will, temporarily be on leave from your job so that you can dedicate as much time to the fellowship as possible. So, whoever you report to, and I put here academic advisor if you're a doctoral student, dean or department chair, or another equivalent if you're a faculty, just so that they're clear that you're applying for this opportunity in advance, so that it just makes the application process much easier on our end when we get to the evaluation portion. So, we would like to see that signed letter, of course, curriculum vitae, and just some other general questions, just to let us know more about you and what you're looking to accomplish from the fellowship. And I'll address that question about residency here. So while technically this is a non-residential opportunity, we do have the option on an as-needed basis. If an applicant, for whatever reason, desired to be in Charlottesville, or it was easier, or somehow may improve your process through research and what have you, to be in Charlottesville at our offices or at the Library of Virginia in Richmond, we can make a caveat for that. There are opportunities available for residential. We just didn't want to limit to, be exclusively residential because of the current state, of everything with the pandemic and just so many different situations going on right now. We wanted to, as Matthew stated, make it as broad as possible and as flexible as possible for the scholars that'll be coming in. So yes, a residential option is available, but we will be evaluating that on an as-needed basis. And most likely, if the applicant was selected, we would have a conversation with the applicant and maybe their institution, to determine what may be best, and how long you would be looking for residence and things of that nature. So the next portion of the application you will see here is the research proposal. This all pertains to your area of study. We want to know, the name of your topic, an abstract, of course, project description. And really in the project description, we're looking to see, if you have any substantial headway in your, research, or if you at least have your research topic solidified enough to be able to really embark on this process and get the most out of this fellowship opportunity. So even if you don't necessarily explain your project, we would like to see a manuscript or maybe some headway, something that you can show as a product or what you've produced thus far. And this section is limited to about 7 pages. We don't want it to be completely comprehensive, as we have a number of applications to evaluate, but just to give us a sense of, what you may have been accomplished so far or are looking to accomplish. Then we want to know, what your perceived impact of this research is, statement of impact. How do you see this significantly affecting humanities or related social sciences? And do you think that this topic would be of interest to other scholars, you know, and that's really to gauge, you know, the level of importance and with all that we're, you know, engaging today with social justice and, you know, civil justice and, you know, racial equity and so on and so forth. These are hot button issues. And we want to make sure that, you know, the topics that folks are engaging with are significant, because there's a lot that's trending out there. But, you know, we want to ensure that what folks are researching is really hitting home and you know, making a difference, as is in alignment with our strategic goals and vision for Virginia Humanities as an organization. And then lastly, we would like to see a working bibliography. So this doesn't have to be comprehensive by any means, but if you could provide, you know, your most significant or most relevant sources, you know, this will also give us a sense that you are serious about this research and you've already made certain, you know, preliminary, you know, assessment in terms of, you know, who you're going to be looking into the topic and what have you. So we just would like to see that as well. And how your topic aligns with our strategic plan. And this is not mandatory. It doesn't have to align with the Virginia Humanities Strategic Plan, but we do give preference to those topics that do. And the strategic plan, there's a hyperlink here, which links right back to our website. That'll show you our strategic goals and vision, you know, for these next few years, and what we're looking to do and accomplish as an organization. Because of course, we would like to get behind topics that we, you know, empathize with and also that we align with in terms of what we're looking to accomplish as an organization. And of course, just 2 letters of recommendation or references. And really the thinking behind this application process was, you know, we wanted to streamline it. We didn't want to make it too difficult for people or create any kind of like roadblocks. So you'll see it's a pretty slim application. It shouldn't be too difficult to complete. It's also right in alignment with other fellowship opportunities that are out there. We didn't want to ask too many questions, but if anybody has any issues or questions, concerns, or what have you regarding the fellowship application, you can always reach out to me directly. And I've provided my information on pretty much every platform and different place that we're advertising this. But just to reiterate, you can reach me at Medina, MEDINA, @virginia.edu. And that's my direct contact. And I'll be glad to speak with you individually and share more about the opportunity or any kind of particular questions you may have. So that is pretty much the gist of the application process. I think we have another question here in the Q&A. If a Virginia HBCU alum, do you need to be currently studying, working at a college, university, or can you be working outside of academia? Absolutely. You can be working outside of academia. You know, that's fine. Again, we wanted to make this opportunity as widely available to folks as possible. So, you know, if you're an independent researcher, if you're working at a museum or, you know, any kind of related field in the humanities, that is fine. Or even if you're, you know, a community organizer or something to that effect. I think the main piece that we're looking for is just that Virginia HBCU affiliation, and of course, qualifications for, you know, research and things of that nature. So as long as those things can be provided, you are absolutely eligible. Let me see here. And I think that concludes, in a sense, my presentation. Of course, Dr. Woolfolk, you have something to say?
There's another question in the chat above that one, and it asks, do HBCU fellows have the option to be residential if we prefer?
Yes, thank you. Yes, and so the answer to that is yes, absolutely. They do have the option to be residential. As stated in the application process, you would just note that there, and we would have a discussion with that applicant at that time, if that applicant was a selected candidate, we would like to, further discuss that and make sure that that is, the option they indeed want to pursue and for how long and what have you. I think also as noted, this fellowship opportunity is available for up to a 9-month term, fellowship term. So some people may be structuring it for example, a summer and fall semester. Some people may just want to do a fall semester or just a spring semester. There's opportunities to indicate that in the application as well. And we can have a conversation about that, an evaluation process too. So we really just want to get a sense for what the scholars, what the applicants are looking for to get out of this program. So I hope that answers those questions. Let me go through also some of the other questions that I've received independently, and just I can note those publicly here. There was a concern about what we call replacement funds, and that also is available. We want to be clear about that because, again, we want to make this opportunity as flexible and possible for those that are looking to pursue this as possible. And we know that there's some inconsistencies, inequities with regards to the resources provided to HBCU institutions. And that also is a prohibitor a lot of times for faculty members being able to accept fellowships, due to high course loads and folks being overworked and sometimes underfunded. And so this really comes as a way to offset that. And so if an applicant is at a particular institution that really could benefit from using those replacement funds, then those funds are indeed available. And we would work with the institution to determine how much is needed to cover that applicant for the time that they would be in fellowship with us, so that there's no kind of missing link there during the semester. They'll be able to continue their courses and go on as is. And then the applicant would then resume back to school after the fellowship term was finished. So we don't want there to be any break in the institution and how they run things. So replacement funds are available. I'm trying to think here. If you'll give me one moment, I can access some more of the Q&As that I typically get. Just let me pull this up. The stipend amount. Applicants can expect to receive a $5,000 a month stipend that we will most likely go through the institution with. This way, the fringe benefits and things like that faculty members typically receive will be intact. So the payment, that $5,000 payment, will go through the institution unless, as noted earlier in one of the questions, somebody is not at an institution or they work independently or what have you, then that payment would go directly to the fellow. And yes, and if you no longer live in Virginia, that's totally fine, as long as you have that HBCU affiliation. So that works as well. And I think that those are some of the most common questions that I receive, in addition to the ones that we answered here. I guess I'll defer to Matthew or Dr. Woolfolk. Is there any other things that may that you all come to mind or anything?
I'll add one thing, and then turn it over to Lisa too. But Lisa, you mentioned the one of the benefits you found about being a residential fellow here at Virginia Foundation for the Humanities back then, was that kind of camaraderie, that kind of like being in your hive, being in your cell, but realizing there's like a hive of activity around you. And we're also, I think our intention is to try to also create that with this as well. Obviously, it'll be virtually, so what we want to do is create a network of connection between scholars doing whatever you're doing and wherever you're doing it, but I guess that's our intention. It's, so even in this time and period when we can't be together physically, we still think there's a space for that kind of activity and exchange and interchange of ideas. So, but thank you all.
And I think that's absolutely possible as well. I think that, given Virginia Humanities' track record with managing programs and creating programs like this, I have no doubt that you'll be able, under Yahusef's guidance, to build a program that will feel that same type of energy, right? I mean, that there are ways that people have managed to go to school on Zoom and do these other things, but also things that are really special, there's weekly worship services that I've been attending for 2 years in California, of all places. And I won't miss a Sunday because I love it so much. And so the idea that somehow it's not that Zoom cannot be used for the power of good, for the power of community, for the power of uplift and empowerment and connection, that's not true either. That there are absolutely ways to build genuine, robust, and meaningful connections using this platform. And a fellowship is the perfect umbrella under which to do so.
And thank you for bringing that up too, Matthew, because one of the things I failed to mention was that, and it's interesting that Dr. Woolfolk spoke about the Woodson Institute director, because we have connections with the Woodson Institute for Africana Studies, and the plan is actually to get the fellows through this HBCU fellowship to also communicate with the fellows at the Woodson, and have sort of this blended kind of camaraderie and opportunities for folks to engage with one another. So that will be there. I know right now, many, there's folks that are tuning in from Zoom all over the place, like Dr. Woolfolk mentioned. So, we'll have opportunities for folks to get together and meet, albeit online. We're going to do the best that we can. And, who knows if the, prayerfully, if the pandemic, turns around, there may be some opportunities to meet in person as well at some point. We're looking at, the 22 academic school year for this anyway. So we don't know, what the future holds. So hopefully we can do some things. And there's also opportunity, as Dr. Woolfolk mentioned, to present, publicly. That may too be through Zoom, but one of the things that we wanted to do in accordance with this fellowship opportunity is related back to the community. So there's going to be an opportunity where if you have a local organization that you're close to, or cultural organization, school, or what have you, we want to connect with that organization, with those folks, and provide an opportunity for you to present your work there where it's relevant, so that it can really touch the people that need it most. So there's going to be a lot of interesting opportunities in this fellowship, and we're excited that you all are applying. I'm looking at the time. I want to keep this under an hour, if you will, because I don't want it to. I want it to still have some replay value. So I know folks have short attention spans these days. Hopefully not our scholars though, because you'll be in fellowship. So, but yes. So. That's all I have. I don't know, Matthew, did you have any closing comments or anything that you wanted to say, Dr. Woolfolk?
Lisa, you want to?
I would just say that thank you again for inviting me, and I wish best of success to all the applicants. I think this is going to be a wonderful fellowship program, and I really am delighted that this is something that Virginia Humanities is doing.
I'll second that from Lisa, and and who knows, if we see this really, thrive and do what we hope that it will, which is to support you all and to support folks like your colleagues. Maybe we can continue to do it. This is, right now we got the 500,000 from the Dominion Energy Foundation. Maybe we can figure out a way to keep that running. So. But there's going to be your feedback that'll help us do that, and certainly the impact of you all with the great work you're already doing. So, looking forward to having your applications, and you all as applicants, and have a happy holiday and a happy new year.
Indeed. Thank you both for being here and joining me with this. Thank you all for your questions. Again, you can reach me at ymedina, MEDINA @virginia.edu for any direct questions that you have for me. And we will be doing one more Zoom session on January 4th at 3 p.m. And that'll just be with myself. And I'll just be answering any direct questions and also going through the application process once again. But thank you for joining us, and we hope you all have a great break, and we look forward to reviewing your applications. Thank you.